Today on Public Eye News, a bit on childcare in Michigan and across the country. But first, some information on the cleanup from the aftermath of the blizzard that hit the UP.
Coming up, Emily Goodacre will give you a weather forecast where we'll take a look at conditions for today and days to come. And later, Emma Moratz will give you your sports breakdown. I'm Maggie Franzen.
And I'm Luke Niddle. This is Public Eye News. Cleanup efforts continue from the record-setting blizzard that hit much of the Upper Peninsula on Sunday and Monday. Highway M28 between Marquette and Munising just reopened this morning, and some rural roads and neighborhoods in Menominee, Delta, and Marquette counties have yet to be plowed. Many school districts remain closed for a third day today. The National Weather Service office in Negaunee Township reports that the past 7-day period was one of the snowiest ever, with 54 inches falling in 3 storms. Snow totals from the 2-day blizzard ranged from 2 to more than 4 feet throughout the central and eastern UP. The western UP, including the Keweenaw Peninsula, reported only minimal accumulations. For those of you living in Marquette, the city's curbside waste and recycling collection is delayed a day for the remainder of this week. And as Lake Superior State concludes its 60th season of collegiate hockey, the program will be introducing its first ever Ring of Honor. The 4 inaugural members of the Laker Hockey Ring of Honor will be Daniel Angelelli, Bill Crawford, Jim Dowd, and Dominic Minardo. Angelelli and Dowd were both members of national championship winning teams as Lakers. Dowd is also the all-time leader in career points, assists, and games played for the program. Crawford has served as play-by-play for the Lakers for 46 seasons, becoming the voice of the Lakers as they hoisted national championships in 1988, 1992, and 1994 with Crawford on the call. Minardo served as alternate captain and then captain of LSSU and led the team in points twice. Minardo also overcame a fractured neck at the age of 18 and still played in the ECHL and AHL afterwards. All 4 members will be honored during Great Lakes State Weekend on October 23rd and 24th this year.
Federal officials in Detroit have unsealed a case targeting nearly $15 million in suspected drug money tied to a global laundering network. According to the Department of Justice, the scheme used U.S. bank accounts to move drug profits overseas through trade and business transactions. The lawsuit, originally filed in 2024, alleges the money came from deposits tied to companies involved in global commerce, including import-export businesses and a well-known Latin American musician. This case is now part of a nationwide Department of Justice initiative aimed at combating cartels, illegal immigration, and violent crime, including human trafficking and drug trafficking. The investigation remains ongoing. While federal officials work to stop organized crime, another story is raising concerns for the public safety of Detroit residents. Local authorities say a man described as suicidal by his ex-wife drove his truck into Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township last week. The ex-wife made an alarming 911 call earlier that day, concerned for his safety, but she had no knowledge of any attempt to target the synagogue. However, it was mentioned that the man had recently lost family members in an Israeli airstrike on May 5th. Authorities report he waited 2 hours outside of the temple before ramming the building and exchanging gunfire with a security guard. The incident resulted in him taking his own life in the vehicle, which also caught fire after the attack. There were no recorded civilian injuries from the event. With the war overseas intensifying, gas prices continue to increase here stateside. But the increasing price of crude oil doesn't only affect prices at the pump. Gino Vinci spoke to economic experts who say it's only a matter of time until this affects the price of so much more.
Now, the average price for gasoline has risen roughly $1 per gallon over the past 30 days alone. Economic experts say it's only a matter of time before those price increases start to reach everything else.
We're actually seeing fertilizer prices spike quite a bit, which will have a direct impact on food prices as well. And that should be something that people start to see at the grocery stores pretty soon.
Professor Michael Greiner with Oakland University's Business School says not only is oil and gas used to transport food from farms to markets, there's also another major impact higher gas prices will have.
But also the fertilizer that is used by the farmers comes from the natural gas process, and as a result of that, much of the fertilizer that the world uses actually comes from the Middle East.
Automotive expert Paul Eisenstein says the automotive industry specifically is hurting. And it's not only because the price of gasoline, which by the way has gone up an average of 60 cents per gallon across the country and in other parts of the country more than $1. Eisenstein says crude oil is also used to make plastics.
Products like ethylene and polypropylene, these are the raw ingredients for the plastics that are widely used, well, everyday life, just about everywhere, but particularly in the automobile. A good percentage of the exterior and interior that's not hard metal is made of plastic. And we could wind up seeing a situation where we start running into shortages of some of these materials.
Moving forward, Griner says get ready for your pocketbook to be pinched and says there's no telling when this could end.
Well, I do think it's going to get worse before it gets better, simply because I think that this is going to go on a lot longer than some people would like it to go on.
In St. Clair Shores, Gino Vici, CBS News, Detroit.
Now don't touch that dial. Our very own Emily Goodacre will have your weather forecast right after this.
We're here in Washington to find out what comes next.
Donald Trump won re-election, promising to reduce illegal immigration.
The Republicans will have a majority.
Will that really solve America's migrant crisis?
Not only at home, but around the world.
They're preparing for what might be coming.
Our correspondents give you the full story.
We're now hearing several explosions after an evacuation warning.
For a global perspective, join us on BBC World News America.
Welcome back. I'm Emily Goodacre with your Public Eye Weather Report. Taking a look at our snow cam here, we can see that we got pretty hard with the snow, so it's definitely looking like a UP spring. But we'll move on to the current conditions. So everything's looking pretty cloudy here, but we'll start with Houghton, which is 24, Ironwood is 24, Iron Mountain is 24, then Menominee is 27, then switching over to this side here, Escanaba is 27, Manistee is 27, and then the Sioux is 22 and snowy right now. Then back at home, Marquette is 24 and cloudy. The conditions, the winds are coming from the southwest at 17 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure is 29.87 and falling. Then later tonight, it's going to drop down to a low of 28, mostly cloudy, with the winds coming southwest at 5 miles per hour, and your moon phase is going to be a waning crescent. Then tomorrow we're going to have partly cloudy, high of 37, a low of 33, and the winds coming northwest from 5 to 10 miles per hour. Then we'll just take a look ahead for the next few days to come. Friday is going to be a high of 42, partly cloudy, and it's going to get low to 32 there. Saturday is going to be 44, cloudy, and then drop down to 26. And then Sunday is going to be 30, cloudy, and then it's going to drop down to 20. That's all I have for weather. Back to the desk.
Thank you for that weather report, Emily. Certainly a historic blizzard that has just hit us. Going now into some statewide news. As midterms for the U.S. rapidly approaches, the Campaign for a Family-Friendly Economy looks to use $50 million in a push for greater child and elder care. The group plans to back Democrats in Senate races across the country, including Michigan, Ohio, and Iowa. The issue of child care has become a rapidly growing topic as a greater push has become widespread since the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2021, President Joe Biden passed $39 billion for subsidizing wages for child care workers and funding care centers. Several electoral campaigns in the Democratic Party have run with a large focus on child care, mainly New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani's campaign last year, as Mamdani won against Andrew Cuomo for the position. But as that topic of child care becomes more debated, sitting Democrats have aimed to improve their state's early education access. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has made an effort to improve the issue during her time in office. Governor Whitmer signed a record $1.4 billion to be used in child care funding in August of 2025. With funding now becoming a primary issue, however, a new problem has emerged in training and retaining child care workers and educators. A study from Michigan State University estimates that roughly 80% of zip codes within the state of Michigan are, quote, child care deserts, end quote, wherein for every child care slot available, 3 children ages 0 to 5 need that one opening. And as the death toll on both sides of the fighting between Iran and the U.S. and Israel is on the rise, the fighting also threatens much of the world's crude oil supply, both on land and in the water. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
President Trump heads to Delaware this afternoon to honor the 6 service members killed when their refueling plane crashed last week in Iraq.
This is, I know, the hardest thing the president does as commander-in-chief and as president. He made it a point to adjust his schedule to be there to grieve with these families.
In Iran, a funeral procession was held for Iranian security chief Ali Larijani and the besieged commander killed in Israeli strikes Tuesday. On Wednesday, Israel announced it had also taken out Iran's intelligence chief. The Iranian regime vowed revenge, launching several more missiles at Israel. Israeli first responders said 2 people were killed near Tel Aviv by falling debris. The U.S. focused its latest round of military strikes on targets along the Strait of Hormuz as Iran continues its blockade of the waterway, critical to the shipment of around 20% of the world's oil. U.S. Central Command said the U.S. had dropped multiple 5,000-pound bunker-busting bombs on hardened Iranian missile sites along the strait. President Trump has criticized U.S. allies for not stepping up to help open the strait.
We don't need too much help, and we don't need any help, actually. This was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
Wednesday morning, the president on social media said he wonders what would happen if we finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Now don't touch that dial. Emma Maratz will be back with a sports breakdown that you won't want to miss.
Hiding right under our noses, there are secret worlds that come to life. Now, on this rapidly changing planet, discover how people are finding new ways to live alongside nature. That could help the next generation create real change. A shared planet is a better home for all of us.
Welcome back to Public Eye News. I'm Emma Maratz here with your Wednesday sports breakdown. It's a great day to be a basketball fan for sure. The Detroit Pistons had a glorious victory over the Washington Wizards with a final score of 130-117. And Jalen Duren scored over 36 points in the game, followed by 12 rebounds. Pistons star Cade Cunningham suffered an injury to his back in the first half of the game and did not return for the rest of the game. This game became the Wizards' 13th straight loss. The Pistons went on to get 22 points added to their lead to defeat the Wizards. The teams face off again on Thursday in Washington at 7 p.m. Staying on the floorboards, the Northern Michigan University men's basketball team faced off against the Walsh Cavaliers in the second round of the NCAA Division II tournament. The team fought long and hard but lost 68-86. Dylan Keel brought in 19 points, which left him only 27 points short of being the all-time points record for NMU. NMU ended the season with a team best of 28-7, which is a new school record. And head coach Matt Makerzak has accepted a new offer and is going to be the head coach of Northern Illinois University. Makerzak leaves NMU after 7 successful seasons, which included appearances in both the GLIAC and NCAA tournaments. Ending things with it, you guessed it, more basketball. Get your brackets ready, everyone, as March Madness is upon us. The 4 number 1 seeds in this tournament, Florida, Michigan, Arizona, and Duke, are all looking to capture the title, and Florida is looking to bring the title home again. In last year's matchup, all 4 number 1 seeds went on to the Final Four, and it could be the case this year. Some missing players from the lineups include LJ Kaysen for Michigan, who tore his ACL in February, along with Caleb Foster for Duke, who's predicted to return in time for the Final Four. Predictions are already set, and it could be a Duke versus Michigan final matchup, with Michigan winning it all. No matter what happens, it will be interesting to see for sure. That's all I have for sports. Let's send it back to the desk.
Thank you, Emma, for that sports report. I am glad everyone has had many safe travels in these chilly times. And being locked in, did you have time to work on your bracket? Are you participating this year?
I did, yes. I had a little bit of cabin fever, but with that, that's all the time we have for Public Eye News today. I'm Luke Niddle.
And I'm Maggie Franzen.
We'll see you tomorrow.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.